Welcome to OLC 4.0. This is term 2A. We are on class 16, A24, A25, and we're looking at how to use a dictionary today. I am Jillian Percy, and here, as always, is my contact page. I know it's kind of tedious, but it gives people a chance to kind of come into the room and stuff, so I kind of stall for a little bit here. Whenever you need to hand in work, student work at nnec.on.ca. Please always include your full name, course name, assignment number and name, and a rough and good draft if asked for. You can reach me at jillian.percy@nnecschools.org. You can also reach me on Facebook, capital G, capital P, ERCY, space, capital W, AHSA. YouTube is the same. And I have previous recordings there, especially for this class, because this has been taught every term since September. If you need to take a photograph of an assignment, please send it as an attachment. If you send it directly as the email, it's very hard for us to print off and it doesn't show properly on the computer. Okay, today's work. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't do my little boxes there like I like to do. Hang on a sec. I don't know, it looks neater to me that way. Learning how to use both online and print dictionaries, understanding what homophones and homographs are, understanding the structure of an informational paragraph, choosing a topic for an informational paragraph, writing the steps in order, using transition words to help the flow of sequencing, and understanding how to revise a piece of writing. So ambitious work for today. Okay, so people tend to think of dictionaries as a place to check your spelling, but dictionaries are much more than a spelling reference. A good dictionary will tell you what parts of speech the word can be, all the meanings the words have with each parts of speech, common endings or word variations, such as adding an ly to turn an adjective into an adverb, example sentences, and they will often include a synonym or two. Okay, so if you enter the phrase online dictionary into your search engine, this is what came up on my screen. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can kind of see it for a second. Let me see if I can. There we go. The first one, this is kind of a generic dictionary. I didn't care for it, but you're welcome to use it. But if you see right underneath the search bar, it lists a few brand name dictionaries: Webster, Oxford, Cambridge. Those are all very reliable dictionary companies. You're not going to want to use the Scrabble one unless you like to play Scrabble, in which case then it's really, really useful. When I went to look up a word, I used the word commodious, okay? Now, different dictionaries showed slightly different information. And the reason I mention this is sometimes you'll get a dictionary definition that you're like, that didn't help at all. I still don't know what that word means. Sometimes they just phrased it strangely. Check one of the other dictionaries and see if it makes more sense. So here I can tell commodious is an adjective. There's a little sound thing here where I could listen to it. If I clicked on this blue thing, synonyms of commodious, it would bring up synonyms. The first definition says comfortably or conveniently spacious, and here it says the word roomy, and that's meant to be a synonym. And then as an example, they've got a commodious closet. And then they've got a second meaning, but they've put the word here archaic. Archaic means it's an old-fashioned definition that's no longer being used. At which point it used to be handy or serviceable. It can also be an adverb, commodiously, and it can be a noun, commodiousness, although I don't think I've heard people use them very often. This is the Merriam-Webster dictionary. And over here is the Collins dictionary. This one was a little strange at first because it seemed like they didn't have a definition at all. But what it is they do it kind of backwards to how I think. They put the example sentence first, and then they put the definition under. And in this particular case, there was a really large internet ad between the two of them. So it took me a little while to figure that part out. So they also have adjective, a commodious room or house that is large and has a lot of space. And then they give you an example of there were snowmen, snow dogs, and a commodious igloo, which seems a very odd use of it, to be honest with you, but okay. Synonyms are roomy, large, comfortable, and extensive. And then they have the actual adjective definitions down here of buildings, rooms, large and roomy spaces, and then archaic, suitable, or convenient. I do like how they put that it was for buildings or rooms. Like it would be unusual to use like, oh, this is a commodious forest. It's meant to be more about man-made structures. And then same thing, they show you adverb and noun. The one difference is they kind of show you where the definition, sorry, not definition, the stress would go. Commodious. I don't find that these online dictionaries are as thorough as print dictionaries, but they are very convenient, especially if you're at your computer working on a writing assignment. All I would suggest is if you read them and you're like, I'm still not sure, I would see if you can find a print dictionary. Okay. I have this little video on how to use a dictionary, and it's incredibly thorough, and it kind of shows how to do it print style with the guide words. And I really like their explanation of it. So I'm going to kind of flip through it. We probably won't watch the whole thing.
A dictionary is filled with entries, and each entry contains information about a particular word. These entries are arranged in alphabetical order. So let's say you're looking for the word ripple. First, you'll find this section with all the words that begin with R. Then you'll use the guide words at the top of each page to find the page with the entry for ripple. This page has rink and rivalry as its guide words. Since the RIP of ripple comes after the RIN of rink and before the RIV of rivalry, we know that this is the page ripple is on. You'll find a lot of information about ripple, including how it's spelled. Some words can be spelled more than one way. At the entry for racket, for example, you'll see RACKET as the main head word, as well as the variant spelling, RACQUET. This dot between the P's in ripple shows you where you can divide the word with a hyphen if it doesn't all fit in one line when you're writing it down. Dictionaries also tell us how to say a word with its pronunciation. There are some familiar letters here, as well as some special symbols that represent specific sounds. You can find out what these symbols mean by looking at the key on the bottom of each page. Hyphens separate the word's syllables. As you can see, ripple has 2 syllables. The marks at the top or bottom of some parts of the pronunciation tell you that those syllables are stressed or given more emphasis when spoken. The first syllable of ripple is stressed, so we say ripple, not ripple. Every word has a job or function in a sentence, which we call a part of speech. A word can be a noun, verb, adjective, adverb, pronoun, preposition, conjunction, article, or interjection. In some dictionaries, the part of speech for each entry is listed as an abbreviation, like N for noun, VB for verb, and ADJ for adjective. Now, have you ever seen 2 words that are spelled the same way but have different meanings? These are called homographs. In this dictionary, each homograph has a separate entry. Their headwords look the same, except for a small number just before it. Ripple has 2 homographs. One is a noun, as in, there is a ripple on the water, and one is a verb, as in, the wind made the water ripple. Because they're both pronounced the same, only the first homograph gets a pronunciation. Many words have more than one form. For example, most nouns have a plural form. 1 ripple, 2 ripples. Verbs can also have different forms. The water ripples. Water is rippling. Water rippled. Adjectives and adverbs can too. Your dictionary will always show you the verb forms and adjective and adverb forms, but it only shows forms for nouns when they don't follow the regular add-s or es noun pattern. So there's no plural form at the entry for the noun ripple. But at the entry for mouse, you'll see the plural form mice. Now let's look at the definition. It follows a bold colon and tells you what the word means. The verb ripple has two meanings. Down at the bottom of this page, the definition for the word rivalry is followed by the word competition in capital letters. The capital letters tell you that competition and rivalry are synonyms. The two words mean the same thing. Definitions are often followed by examples of the word in use to help you understand the meanings and how they're used. Some dictionary entries have other features too. A note or label might tell you that a word is usually capitalized when used with a particular meaning, or that a spelling of a word is more common in British English, or that a word is always used in its plural form. At the end of some entries, you'll see other words in dark, heavy type that don't have definitions. These are words that are formed by adding a suffix to the main entry. At the end of the entry for proud, for example, you'll find the word proudly. The suffix ly is defined as in a specified manner. So proudly means in a proud manner. Sometimes you'll find a phrase in dark, heavy type at the end of an entry. Here at make are make believe, make fun of, and make good. These are called run-on phrases. The entry's headword is the first major word for this kind of phrase, but not necessarily the first word. Some entries have a paragraph about the synonyms of the word. Price, for example, has a synonym paragraph that helps explain the differences between the words price, charge, and cost, which all share a meaning. The word synonym in dark type at the entries for charge and cost direct you to the paragraph at price. Many words in English come from older words in Latin or Greek. Those
All right, so I'm going to pause there because I think at that point it's getting a bit obscure. But if you haven't, they used to teach dictionary usage a lot in school. I don't know if it's really taught very much. It hasn't been where I've been, so I wanted to kind of go over that just in case you weren't sure. We kind of discussed that already. We're good. What is a homograph? They talked about this, but I wanted to kind of review it. A homograph is a word that is spelled the exact same way as another word, but will have a different meaning. Sometimes they sound exactly the same too, so you'll have to pay attention to how they're used in the sentence to understand which meaning is being used. So here are some examples. The little brown bat flew into the cave. That's the little animal that flies. The baseball player threw the bat down. That's the stick. I saw you at the store yesterday. Like I looked. My dad is using his new saw to build a shed. And that's obviously the tool. I am trying to train my dog to do tricks. So train there means like teach. My auntie left on a train to Winnipeg. So obviously the train that is transportation. We saw a beautiful white crane by the lake. They mean the bird. The crane was lifting the windows up high. There they mean the machine. Homographs. Oh, this is sorry. Wait. Yep, homograph. Okay. Some homographs may sound exactly the same, but other times they may sound quite different. So the ones on this page are ones that sound a little bit different, even though they look the same. Sometimes to make it more obvious, we put both words in a sentence together, which is what I'm going to do just because I think it kind of stresses it. The farmer is going to produce some new leafy produce on his farm. So produce here is like make, and then over here it means like vegetables. Since you are close, can you please close the gate? And the second one, when you're talking about the action, all of a sudden the S has kind of a Z sound. The lawyer said, I object to you bringing that irrelevant object into the courtroom. So object is like I protest, I disagree with, and here object is like a thing. When she heard her wedding dress tear on the nail, the tears began to fall down. So tear is like a rip, tears are like somebody crying. I had to console my little brother when he broke his new game console. So here console is like comfort, and over here it's like the little handheld thing you see the students playing. What is a homophone? Homophones sound the same to our ear, but they look different and they will have different meanings. Some example of homophones: right spelled R-I-G-H-T, like take a right turn at the gray house, that's a direction. Or right R-I-T-E, the priest gave him the last rites. And in that sense, it was kind of like a ceremony or something that they kind of walk through, I guess, in a sense. Meet, M-E-E-T. I can't wait to meet your dad. And meet, M-E-A-T. Mom was cutting up moose meat. Rain, R-A-I-N. I don't want the rain to come. Reign, R-E-I-G-N. That's talking about ruling. The king will reign the country till he dies. Now, these are also the kind of spelling mistakes that your computer spell checker may not catch. It depends. Some will, some won't. But it's something to be mindful of. So if I used the word M-E-E-T when I meant M-E-A-T, it's still spelled correctly. So the spell checker may not notice it. So that's something to be mindful of when you're doing things. Okay, moving on to assignment 24, the information paragraph. So we talked on Thursday about the concepts of skimming and scanning to find information without doing close reading. So now it's time to use what you've learned to write an information paragraph on a topic of your choice. It could be something like how to start a campfire, or how to clean a walleye, or how to make bannock, or how to change a tire on a truck. This is going to go into your portfolio, so make sure you're using the writing process. Now, I was surprised they called it an information paragraph. I have more typically heard this type of writing called procedural or how to writing. And the point, it's a small point, I guess, maybe, but I'm telling somebody the steps to do something, not telling them about something. So I'm not telling them the history of World War II. I'm telling them, hey, here's the steps to safely handle a gun. Just a little bit different. You've probably read this type of procedural text all the time. Some examples of typical procedural texts: recipes, craft instructions, repair instructions, building instructions, machine cleaning instructions, furniture building instructions, game instructions, COVID hand washing instructions. So let me show you a few examples of these different types of texts so you've got an idea of how they sound. So here, for example, is a recipe. And normally a recipe would include an ingredient list. I'm going to skip over that part and just go right to the instructions because they're a type of procedural writing. How to make classic Sloppy Joe's recipe. First, in a large skillet, add oil and heat over medium-high heat. Once the oil is simmering, they've put shimmering, they mean simmering, reduce heat to medium and add onions and salt and saute, often stirring until onions are translucent and beginning to brown around the edges, about 6 to 10 minutes. 2. Then stir in garlic powder and chili powder and cook until fragrant, about 20 seconds. 3. Next, add in the beef and use the back of a wooden spoon to break the meat apart. Cook until the meat is almost browned all the way through. I would say cook until it's 100% browned. Number 4, stir in brown sugar, tomato puree, ketchup, water, and Worcestershire sauce. Simmer the mixture until the sauce has thickened, about 5 to 10 minutes. Finally, season the mixture with pepper and serve on hamburger buns. Now over here, we've got a very simple one talking about how to draw a tree. Step 1, draw 2 C's. Step 2, add U's to create some branches. Step 3, add upside down U's for roots down here and to make an owl burrow. Then add leaves, grass, flowers, and whatever else you want. This is it's going a bit fast, but it does give the idea. Okay, we're not doing pictures in our version, but it is really common for pictures to be included in this type of writing. I know sometimes when I'm looking at something like, how to fix something on the car, having a picture of what I'm supposed to be doing is really helpful. Okay, you can also have something where you're explaining how to do a social or a life skill. For example, a party planning checklist. 1, determine the date, time, and guest list. 2, choose the right venue. 3, select a party theme. 4, pick out decorations and party favors. 5, decide on the menu and drinks. 6, order the perfect birthday cake. 7, send out invitations. In this case, they're using numbers to show the steps, but in the paragraph format that we're using, we would use words instead, like first, second, third, fourth. Okay, just grab the next page here. Okay, so here is from the unit, and it says up top, how to write an information paragraph. Writing an information paragraph is easy to do if you follow these steps. The first thing you need to do is decide on a topic and come up with 3 or 4 points that support the topic. Next, you need to write a topic sentence that introduces your topic to your reader. From there, you turn the 3 or so points you've come up with on your topic into sentences that support the topic sentence. Finally, the last sentence in the information paragraph is a rewording of the topic sentence. All you need to do is finish your information paragraph is to revise it if needed, and then edit before writing the final copy. Following the above steps will help you write a perfect information paragraph. They've deliberately written it in a paragraph format to get you the idea. And I wanted to comment, like, didn't you get tired of hearing me say the word topic sentence, topic sentence? That's why we sometimes use synonyms in our writing, because it can get really tedious to hear the same word in every single sentence. So this first sentence in black is our topic. It's got the main idea of the paragraph. All the sentences in the red are our body sentences, and they are explaining our main idea. They're using those transition words we talked about. The first thing, next, from there, finally. Those are called transition words or sometimes sequence words. And then this last sentence here is our concluding sentence. I had a couple students ask me, hey, when we write, are we supposed to do this? No. This is just so you could see it. You just write normally. Don't worry about bolding or writing in red or underlining anything. That was just so that the students could see it. Okay. Here is another paragraph. I like the visual. We've been using this before, the hamburger paragraph. And remember, the reason is the bun on top and the bun on the bottom are the topic sentence or opening and our conclusion, and they should echo each other. They should be giving very similar information. And then in the middle, we've got all our great body details. So here, the topic sentence is, in the Star Wars universe, lightsabers are powerful tools. Supporting detail. Lightsabers can cut through almost anything. Lightsabers can deflect blaster bolts. Skilled Jedi can use lightsabers to absorb force lighting. It takes a lot of practice to learn how to use a lightsaber. Okay. Here's kind of the slower version. Come up with 3 or 4 points related to your topic that you want to include in your paragraph. Come up with an opening sentence, turn each of your points into sentences, and then write 1 or more sentences for each point. And then for the concluding sentence, rewrite your topic using different words. Go through your paragraph with a different colored pen or pencil to make revisions, check your spelling or the use of capital letters and punctuation, and then produce a final one. This is exactly the steps we've talked about before. Writing process, rough draft continued. They did a bunch explaining the rough draft, and then we've got the revising and editing step, and then publishing it is when you hand it in to me. Here is one more example from the instructions. How to play ping pong. Playing ping pong is a fun and relaxing activity. Players stand at opposite ends of the table and are ready to hit the ball back and forth over the net at the center of the table. First, to begin a game, one player will serve the ball over the net towards the other player after hitting his or her side of the table first. The other player will then return the ball over the net, and they keep hitting it back and forth until the ball either hits into the net or goes off the table. A point will be given to the player not making a mistake after each serve, and players switch serving after 2 points. Finally, a game is won with either 11 or 21 points. Not sure why the difference. Ping pong is an enjoyable activity for fun and relaxation, good for people of all ages. So your rough copy is worth 10, your final copy is worth 15, and altogether this assignment is worth 25. Here are a whole bunch of topics that I thought of. How to make Kraft dinner, how to make moose stew, how to make bannock, how to make spaghetti, things where you could repair or fix, like how to change tires, how to change oil, how to fix a broken screen, how to fix a leaking faucet, crafting, how to make a pillow, how to make a Christmas tree decoration, how to paint a tree, how to get your kids to bed on time, how to host a Christmas party, how to have a great first date or outdoor life, how to ice fish, how to set up a tent, how to make a fire, how to catch rabbits. I did this just because a lot of times I get students saying I couldn't think of what to write, but you are welcome to write on literally any topic that you can think of that you feel you know enough to write about. That's absolutely fine. The big thing is as you're writing, just write down some quick point forms, and that makes it really easy to write your sentences afterwards. So here, talking about cooking a pot roast in the slow cooker. That's supposed to be kind of more the title, not a step. Brown on the stove, onions, season the meat, potatoes and carrots, broth, seasonings, set timer, lid on. Now that alone isn't make a good paragraph. I have to add to it. So there are generic words we can use to help us show the sequence. Things like to begin, at the beginning, to start, get started by, next, then, after that, finally, at last, to conclude. Words to indicate adding one more thing, in addition, plus. As an option, you could, some people like to, and obviously I'm not finishing those sentences. So here's my example. Here's my brainstorming. And then I kind of turn it into an actual paragraph. I still have a title. My title is not the same thing as my opening paragraph. So here's my title. I'm going to kind of bold it to make it really obvious. Okay. I still have to have an opening sentence. And you know what? I think I forgot it in this one. I think I come on that later. Yeah, I went back and did it. I'll read it as I wrote it. This is where revising is important. First, make sure you brown your roast on all sides in a frying pan. Next, slice up an onion and put it in the slow cooker. Then put the roast on top of the onions. After that, peel and cut up some carrots and potatoes. Add them on top of the meat as they don't take as long to cook. The next step is to add some salt and pepper to the roast. Pour some beef broth over the meat, at least 2 inches worth. Finally, put the lid on and set the timer. Usually 6 to 8 hours on the slow setting will make a tender pot roast for your supper. By the way, don't do that in the oven. That will burn it, but a slow cooker works at a much lower temperature. After I finished this, I realized I just kind of dived in and I didn't do an opening and I didn't do a closing. So I kind of went back and thought of one afterwards. I might start with something like, here's how to make an easy pot roast for your family, or want to make a perfect pot roast that never burns or goes dry? Here's how. And then I also need a closing sentence. You will be surprised how much easier it is to cook a pot roast in a slow cooker. Or once you taste slow cooker pot roast, you will never go back to using your oven. Okay. Here is one more example. Creating your first quilt block, pick a pattern, choose fabrics, cut carefully, sew and iron. Now, this is like the most basic, but we don't write sentences that short. You're kind of trying to show off your writing skills to me in a sense. So take the time to write carefully crafted sentences, right? Here, I remembered to give myself a title, how to create your first quilt block. And then in yellow, I've got my opening. And then down here in yellow, I've got my closing. So it's easy and fun to create a quilt block from start to finish. First, pick an easy block such as the 4-patch or 9-patch or rails. After that, decide what colors you like. Make sure there is plenty of contrast or the pattern won't stand out. Cut your fabric to the correct measurements. Lay out the pieces on the table to be sure it all looks right. Then carefully pin and sew 2 pieces together. Iron after every time you sew a seam. Keep alternating between sewing and ironing until the whole block is done. Now you have finished your first quilt block. Okay. Once you've got your rough draft done, you're going to want to go back and revise it. And this is kind of the hard part for some people. So I'm trying to give you some ideas for how to revise stuff. You can add some more examples or some more details to your paragraph. You can remove unnecessary repetition or anything that has gone off topic. You can move sentences around so that the order makes sense. You can use transition words and phrases to help the flow of your paragraph and make sure your sentences are clear and understandable. This is called, we use this acronym called ARMS, add, remove, move, and I think the S was for substitute, which I just think of as change for some reason. I'm going to skip over this revision video and come back to it at the end if we still have time. Just kind of want to move on. So here I've got my rough draft, right? And it still sounds pretty good, but I went through and added a lot more details. So it's not as easy to get confused because about partway through, I started to get a little bit mixed up myself. Okay, so here's my revised version. It's easy to create a beautiful quilt block in no time. First, pick an easy block that only has straight seams to sew, like a 4-patch or a fence rail block. After you choose your pattern, you need to pick out what colors you like and a background color like white or gray. Carefully cut out your fabric to the right measurements by tracing the lines on the wrong side of the fabric. Lay out all your cut pieces on a flat surface to check that it looks right. Now, pick 2 pieces that are side by side and sew them together. Iron them afterwards so they lay flat. Keep alternating between sewing and ironing until the whole block is done. Now your first quilt block is ready to show off. I don't know if it helps to me. I felt like it was a little more clear what you were doing when I added those revisions. So that's the big thing is as you're reading it back, think about, would somebody who never done this before in their life be able to follow my directions and do it? Okay. All right, moving on to assignment 25. This is part of lesson 8, which is about opinions. People read for a lot of the same reasons as they write. We read to become informed, for entertainment, and sometimes to help or persuade us to make choices or decisions or develop opinions. So assignment 25 is about making a prediction. 10 marks. 1, before you read the next chapter, which is chapter 4 in your novel, skim and scan the pages and write down any 5 words that stand out. Besides the words, indicate why they stand out for you. Point form is okay here. Also, you are to use each word in a new sentence of your own. Skimming and scanning is not something you usually would do with a novel. Can you think of a reason why? So I want to point out for each word, you've got 3 things. A, find a word. B, tell me why it stood out. And then C, make a new sentence of your own, not the one in the book. Okay. They're asking a lot of things at once and it's easy to forget. So first scan, find your words. Tell me what the word is, why it stood out, put it in a sentence. Here's an example. Gas. My thoughts why it stood out. I bet they're huffing gas. My sentence, sniffing gas can be a dangerous thing to do. So any 5 words, but only from chapter 4. Okay. And then part 2 is based on the words that stood out for you, as well as the title of the chapter, which was The Cabin. Make a prediction as to what the main idea of this chapter will be. Your answer will contain at least 3 sentences. So I'm going to give you some example sentences, right? The chapter is called The Cabin, so I think that they might be, then tell me what you think. The words blank and blank made me think that. When I saw the word blank, I thought that. So those, you don't have to use those exact same frames, but the idea is don't just write down do drugs. You would have to write down an actual sentence, okay? Hang on, let me see the next page here. I think I do an example. Okay, so this is an example. I'm not using this chapter because I don't want to give too much away. This is using an imaginary book, like some sort of mystery novel, I think. So let's say I read a chapter and I notice the words blood, knife, scream, alley, sirens, and the chapter is called Suddenly. So here are some predictions I might make. The words blood and knife make me think somebody is going to get hurt, maybe even killed. It sounds like this event might happen in an alley, but the police respond quickly since we hear their sirens. The chapter title, Suddenly, made me think Maybe there was an argument that happened unexpectedly that triggered the whole event. The main character, Jake, has repeatedly gotten into fights due to his anger issues, so it's possible that that has happened as well. Okay. Be sure to include all the parts to question 25. The words you picked out, the previous actions of the characters, personality traits of the characters, right? If somebody has been the most wonderful, amazing character in the world, you're probably not going to make a prediction that they suddenly become horrible because that wouldn't make sense. By the same token, if somebody's been misbehaving and doing not so great things for the entire novel, they probably didn't suddenly become an angel in the next chapter. And always look at the chapter title too. That's often why writers give a chapter title to give a little heads up there. Okay, if you haven't filled out your reading log recently, now would be a great time to catch up before we get too much further into the course. Remember that you do have to hand in the reading log at the end to me, and any type of reading counts. It could be work-related reading, things that you do at work, like letters or reading emails or invoices, sale promotions, ads, posters, work manuals. It can be personal reading you do at home, novels, poems, songs, letters, cards, lists, legal documents and medical documents, comic books or graphic novels, or if you read something to your child as they go to sleep, that counts. It's still reading, right? Media reading, posters, ads, games, or apps, and then social media reading, which would be things like Facebook, Twitter, email, Instagram, blogs, and Messenger. Okay, so that brings you with 24 and 25. We've got a bit of time, so I'm going to go back and kind of talk about this revision. When we're talking about the writing process, I think revision is the hardest step in the writing process because sometimes people, what they wrote down, it's hard for people to sometimes picture that I could write it in a different way. So often people just skip the revision step and they go right to editing. So I tend to make a lot of advice and ideas about revising because it seems to be one of the hardest things I find for people. So we're going to take a quick look at this and see if it's helpful.
Today we're going to talk about using the ARMS method to revise your writing. Remember that revising is the third step of the writing process. First, we engage in pre-writing, then drafting, and then revising. ARMS, or ARMS, is an acronym for Add, Remove, Move, and Substitute. Following these 4 steps will help you revise your writing. First, let's talk about the A, Add. As you begin to revise your writing, ask yourself these questions. Can I add anything to my writing to improve it? Do I need to add any words or sentences? What transition words can I add to help improve my writing? Can I add some descriptive details or appeals to the 5 senses? For example, in the sentence, "My favorite snack is popcorn," the writer could choose to revise the sentence by adding the descriptive adjectives buttery and crunchy before the noun popcorn. Next, let's talk about the R, remove. As you revise your writing, ask yourself, what unnecessary words or phrases should I remove? Are there any sentences that don't make sense? Are there any sentences that don't support my topic sentence? Let's take a look at this example sentence. Going to the movies is a fantastic activity and so fun. Describing going to the movies as fun after already calling it fantastic seems a little redundant and unnecessary, so that part can easily be removed. Now let's talk about the M, move. During the revising step of the writing process, ask yourself, would this sentence fit better somewhere else? Should I reorder my paragraphs? Can I move words or phrases around to make more sense? Let's look at this example sentence. She served sandwiches to the children on paper plates. Here we have a misplaced modifier. On paper plates, that needs to be moved next to the word it modifies, sandwiches. After moving the modifier phrase, the sentence now reads, she served sandwiches on paper plates to the children. Now the sentence makes more sense. Finally, let's talk about the S, substitute. As you revise your writing, ask yourself, which words can I substitute to make my writing more interesting? Did I use any boring or overused words that I can replace? Can I replace a comparison or description with figurative language? In our example sentence, he was so happy when he won the spelling bee, we can substitute the overused words so happy with a more interesting adjective, elated. Now it reads, he was elated when he won the spelling bee. So remember, after you've finished your rough draft, use the ARMS method to revise your writing. Add words, sentences, details, and transition words. Remove unnecessary, boring, or off-topic words, phrases, or sentences. Move phrases, sentences, or paragraphs that fit better somewhere else in your writing. Substitute overused words with more interesting ones. Replace comparisons or descriptions with figurative language to make your writing more interesting. Once you've completed this step, you're ready to edit your writing.
Okay, so hang on, there we go. I wanted to go back. Remember we were reading that one paragraph, and it had that the same word over and over again. They couldn't seem to stop themselves from using it. Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna duplicate this so I can do what I want without messing up the original thing. I'm just gonna put it right here. So basically, they couldn't figure out another way to say topic sentence, and they say it just over and over and over again. So the first thing I would do if I saw that and was thinking, oh my gosh, this is so annoying. What is it? I would immediately look for synonyms for that. Now, sometimes if you stop and think, you can just brainstorm some, but topic's kind of an unusual word. I'm not sure I can think of a bunch right up top. So I'm gonna go through a thesaurus. I don't like the top one, the thesaurus.com. I like the thesaurus by Merriam-Webster. Okay, so I'm just gonna put the word topic in here and see, oops, not topic, topic. Sorry about that, double O, just one O for topic, Joe. Okay, so here they came up with a bunch of different ones. Not all of them will work. If you see the dark orange ones, oh, my computer went dead. Did I just lose people? Oh, are you still there? Okay, my computer went completely dead for a second there. That was really strange. The ones that are in dark orange are the ones that are the most relevant. So things like theme, question, matter, motif, subject, content. So they had subject, content, motif. I'm sure motif would work for us, but I'll put it there. Motif. What else do they have? Matter. I'm not going to use question because I don't think question really works there. Question. I will say for the way we're using it in this particular paragraph, I'm also going to use the word opening or beginning. Okay, because those are other ways to refer to this particular paragraph. So if I said, I'm not going to change the first sentence because that's fine. Second sentence is fine. Next, you need to write a topic sentence that introduces your topic to your reader. I would take out the second topic and put introduces your subject or introduces your main idea. And then from there, you turn the 3 or so points you have come up with on your topic or on your subject into sentences that support the topic sentence. Okay, so I'm going to try and fix those because it begins to sound just kind of weird to me. Okay. Next, you need to write a topic sentence. Sorry. That introduces the, or your, I guess, okay, your subject to the reader. From there, you turn the 3 or so points you have, you know what it is? I think it's a bad sentence. Points, I didn't write it. You have come up with on your topic into sentences that support your, they've suggested the word thesis here. I feel like thesis is a bit of a big word for a tiny little paragraph like that, but it would work. I'm going to use it actually because I think it's kind of, it works. It at least makes more sense than saying the word topic sentence over and over again. Finally, the last sentence in the, I'm just going to shorten that there, paragraph is a rewording of the beginning sentence. All you need to do is finish your paragraph. Oh my goodness, is to revise if needed. And then edit before writing the final copy. All right. I strongly feel that this person needed an editor to go through this because I think some of these sentences are kind of run-on sentences. But at least I'm not saying the same phrase over and over again. So this is an example of, it only took us like less than 2-3 minutes to fix that. And yet it makes a big difference into how it sounds. So I think a lot of times people think that doing a bunch of revisions is going to be really hard work or take them a really long time, and it doesn't have to. And if that kind of thing worries you, what I always do if I have a job that I don't want to do and I'm worried about it is I set my timer. Put it on for 10 minutes, put it on for 15 minutes, and then my deal with myself is when I get to that time and the bell goes off, I get to get up and do something else, whatever thing it is. Now I get to watch my favorite show or go for a walk or go play with the kids or whatever else it is that I want to do. And even if you have to just do like little tiny 15 minutes chunks several times over an evening, sometimes that can be a way to get yourself to do something you don't want to do. Are there any questions before I close for the evening? Does this make sense? Okay. I will be back tomorrow. We will be working on 26, which I think is an essay, and it's quite yeah, 26. Look at it ahead of time so you have an idea of what we're going to be working on. It's one where we're doing multi-paragraphs, so it's a little bit longer. And we'll talk about more when we get there, I guess. Have a good night. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing everybody's assignments.